everyone. Today I will tell you about the film Johnny Mad Dog. Enjoy watching! Before watching, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. I'm trying to develop this channel, and your support is the only thing I have. Liberia, 2003. A group of armed teenage rebels broke into the house, gathered the family in one room, and demanded to give them all the food. They take away the TV and other equipment. Then the relative was taken outside and put on the ground. They were forced to undress and give away their jewelry. The group commander also demands to give them all the money. They need to fight for something. In the house remained a crying baby, and some man who had put on a wedding dress. The old man was shot just because he cried. A boy was found in the house, whom his parents tried to hide. He was given a machine gun and forced to shoot his own father. The boy himself was taken with them to make the same fighter out of him. With that, they decided that they had succeeded and left the village with songs and dances. 15-year-old Johnny, nicknamed Mad Dog, is leading the group. They broadcast on the radio that the rebels are already 12 kilometers from the city. 16-year-old Lal took her underwear and went home with her younger brother, Fofo. The commander of the detachment sets up his soldiers with an aggressive call. Their task for today is to capture the TV station. The television station was shot with grenade launchers. After that, the intoxicated militants broke in and began to selectively shoot the employees, calling them Dogitsami. News anchor Tanya Toyo tried to escape, but she was stopped by a mad dog and bad advice. Johnny says that she is constantly lying, saying on TV that the rebels are killing the unarmed and destroying villages. He also called Tanya beautiful and knocked her to the floor. It didn't end well for her. Leila is doing homework at home and listening to an interview with a man who lost 9 relatives during the Civil War. Lol's father had both legs amputated. The gang passed by another village and stopped at a roadblock. They called themselves Merchants of Death, and the password sounded like immortality has no rest. Each of the young men shouts that he is either a devil or a dog of war. The general orders the rabid dog to gather ammunition. Tomorrow they must seize and burn the city. The general says that they have done a great deed, captured the TV station, so the government will no longer be able to push false propaganda to the outside world. Street after street, they drive out all the Dogi people for humiliating the local people, and now they will allegedly liberate the country. But for this, they need to burn the city and overthrow the president. Johnny took a close look at the young dog Fatmata, offered her the sex of one of them, and took her somewhere. At night, the general processes the smallest. They undergo a ceremony of initiation into the rebellion. The general promises that after the war, they will receive benefits and be able to return to their parents. But for now, they need to seize the city, and anyone who remembers mom and dad will be executed. He fired at the new recruits with a volley of empty cartridges and said that the bullets would not take them anymore. Morning came. Militants are preparing to attack a coastal town. The general entered and ordered the mad dog to capture the embassy. If you don't want to die, don't be born! The children shout again. It all started with the blowing up of the bridge. The squad runs forward and fires machine guns in all directions. Lol immediately woke up and began to collect things. It's very scary. One boy got scared and ran in the opposite direction. For that, he was immediately executed by the general. Lol buried the chest with valuables and woke up her brother. The girl hopes that they will be able to escape. But the father refuses to leave the house, and in order not to delay his daughter, he shut himself in the house. The brother and sister walk in the crowd among the rest of the city's residents, forced to leave their homes. Shots were heard, and everyone ran in different directions. Bandits shot a car with passengers. They left their bodies on the grass, and the whole squad climbed into a pickup truck. On their way, they met an old man who was carrying a pig. A bad counsel accused the man of theft and took the pig from him. The young criminal climbed back into the car and shouted that he hated thieves and would deal with every one of them. Lol walks alone with her brother through the empty garden. A car with rebels stopped next to her and they just fired at it. Johnny showed the bonds found nearby. Therefore, you need to be careful. Enemies may be nearby. The butterfly appreciated the new weapon for him. They brought a local boy who was hiding there with a bucket of lemons. He is accused of being a government fighter and shooting at them. Dozens of machine guns are aimed at the student's head. The rebels do not believe a single word of his ego. In the end, the boy got to his feet and ran. Ego was immediately shot in the back. The squad moved on. Johnny went separately to survey the area and entered the building. On the stairs, he ran into Lol and her brother. But he didn't say anything about them to his associates. Lol hid Fofa in a barrel and went to fetch her father. The man was wounded and is losing a lot of blood. Lol brought him in a wheelbarrow to the house where she hid her brother. but the barrel was overturned, and Fofo was nowhere to be found. Lol searched the entire building and took her father further. The military is constantly shooting, and the bodies of citizens are lying on the asphalt. The rebels inspect the street. Here one of them was killed by a sniper in the head. Everyone hid. They forced only the boy who had been stolen from the village to remain with a wooden machine gun. Here they shot him too. Bad Advice noticed a flash in the building. Several people ran inside the multi-story building. Walked on the floor, they found and eliminated the sniper. A butterfly decided to sing a song over the body of a village boy. A team of doctors ran past Lowell. She drove her father to a hospital guarded by peacekeepers. Despite the wound in the head, Raven was still alive. Soon, a juvenile gang also reached the same hospital. The boys were not allowed to go inside with weapons, so they simply handed over the wounded comrade to the doctors. The rebels began insulting the peacekeepers and threatened them with death if the crest did not survive. Father Lowell was taken into a large room and laid in a hammock. The militants are hungry and want to slaughter the pig, but the bad council does not want to do it. He felt sorry for the animal, but despite his protests, Johnny fired an automatic burst at it. Johnny called the general and he reported that he had occupied the presidential palace. He ordered the rabid dog not to stray far from the hospital. Law walks among the townspeople and hopes to find his brother. But evening came and the search yielded no results. Johnny came to Fatmate and said that her name would be Lololita. He likes it that way more. Then he gave the girl a machine gun so that she could try to shoot from it. Johnny's all hung up with talismans that should protect his ego from bullets. Therefore, he still lived. The mad dog has been fighting for 10 years. He does not remember his real name or family. That night, the mad dog took advantage of his captive. At dawn, a convoy of vehicles with peacekeepers left the city. There is no one to protect the local population, so bandits continued to rob and kill civilians. Lol tries to negotiate with a man to put his father in his wheelbarrow on a tricycle, but he agrees only for a payment of $20. But that's all the money Lol has, and she can't agree to such a deal. Bandits want to take away her baby from a woman for some reason. They found a ridge to which they managed to provide first aid. Lol still paid the man for her father's transportation. At some point, she noticed that her father had lost consciousness. The dead man's body was placed in a pit in the cemetery, and Lol bent over the grave to read a prayer. Now she has neither a brother nor a father. Fatmata now wears a wedding dress. The young major carries a hefty tape recorder on his back, from which either music or news is constantly playing. The squad passed by Lol, who was already finishing burying the grave. The girl went in the opposite direction. She returns to the city. Young militants broke into another house to rob a family. The elderly spouses are ready to give everything to be left alone as soon as possible. The woman said that she works as a teacher. This angered the savages. Probably she thinks that they are smarter. The man stood up for his wife. Only he is a dog, and the woman is from the same tribe as Johnny. The bandits still called the elderly couple accomplices of the president and forced them to undress. The young fighters for freedom and justice went on to rob homes. Lol runs home through the jungle. At night, the rebels had a bonfire celebration. They carry portraits of the president and his effigy. Sad Fatmata is sitting nearby and sees that Johnny danced with a new girlfriend. They went into seclusion, but Fatmata found them and chased the girl away, pointing a machine gun at her. Jealousy chased after the girl, but she was immediately shot by one of the fighters, who did not like Dagika's behavior. Crazy dancing at the bonfire in honor of the victory continued. Johnny spent the whole night mourning his murdered lover. In the morning, the general arrived at the camp. The coup was carried out, and the president was expelled from the country. The commander has no money for fighters, just like the new president. Everything they managed to loot, everything. The general himself now calls himself not a rebel, but an officer of the regular army. Johnny also needs to figure out what to do next. Lol came to the refugee camp. The doctor examined the children. Her brother was not among them, but a girl named Mayama, who no longer has parents, approached Lol. Lol took the baby in her arms and left her with her. Now Mayama will be her sister. She bathed the girl and went with her to the queue for humanitarian aid. Johnny was standing in the middle of the crowd. The girl shouted that she knew him. He's a killer. In the car with Reese, confusion began. Someone is trying to pull the bags, and the soldiers wave their weapons, saying that this is their reward. They beat civilians, taking the rice back for themselves. Lol and the girl went away. Johnny lost sight of them and went in search of them. He found Lol and demanded that she follow him. Johnny took the girl to the shack and said that when he wants something, he does it. Unlike Fatmata, Lol is not so talkative and does not agree to call him by name. She saw how he killed the boy with the lemons. He probably did the same with her brother. The guy decided to appease Lola and hung one of his protective amulets around her neck. But the girl refused the gift. Johnny brags that he had many women. But violence is not love, Lola answers. The killer came up to her. Here the girl pushed him away and began to kill him with the butt of the machine gun. Johnny screams and tries to cover himself with his hands. Lol pointed the barrel of the machine gun at him and was ready to finally shoot the mad dog. This is where the film ends.